What about online games like Call of Duty and sports games? Are they art? And BioWare said these games definitely do convey a specific feeling, but a lot of it comes from the competitive nature of the games. They also talked about the future of gaming and how they see the future of gaming really heading towards a direction where they want to get a wider audience and actually appeal to people that don't like games or don't get into games because they don't want to spend the time having to learn how to use a controller. And you could see this with, like, say, the Kinect and your motion censored games, because you do see different types of people playing these games now because they don't have to spend time learning the how to use a controller. When it comes to this, I don't like it. I don't like the whole motion censored thing. They were also talking about this like virtual reality thing where they put you put these glasses on and you're actually like in the world or something like that, kind of like, what's that movie? Like Tron or something. There's another movie where it's like a virtual reality game or something. I don't like that. I really don't. I hope video games don't go down that path. They said that this wouldn't happen soon. They said that if this happens, that they have seen it being attempted, but that it's not become mainstream and it hasn't become very applicable. But they said this probably won't even happen in the next 10 years. I really hope it doesn't happen, because I don't like that idea. It just, I don't know. This is weird. I mean, I don't like motion censored games anyways, so the only one that I have a Wii, but you still have a controller. But like the Kinect, where you're just like, yeah. I mean, it's amazing that it can pick up your movements and all that, but I don't have a Kinect and I don't really want one, so. I like this question. Does the limited amount of genres in games hinder them from becoming a storytelling medium? There aren't many genres in, or at least different genres, in video games. And they had a pretty good answer. They said that they pretty much take accessible concepts to make into a game and add a familiar environment for the player to engage in. Fantasies and sci-fis have been around for decades and they remain popular because they become familiar. I really hope you could hear me. They also mentioned how one of them said, he said that it was crazy when Rockstar attempted to do Red Dead Revolver, a Western, that they were like, what? A Western video game? And it worked. I mean, Red Dead Revolver was really good. I haven't played the whole game, but I have tried it. And it was pretty fun. And then Red Dead Redemption, now that I consider art. That's one of my video games as I consider art. Because it's so unique. And because they took that leap of faith. They took that risk. And a lot of people doubted them because they were like, a Western? But it worked. That's what a lot of and they even admitted, they were like, a lot of developers don't take that risk. They stay with the familiar for a lot of reasons, because the gamer could have an easier engagement with the game because it's something familiar. It also has to do with the team. Like they were saying here at BioWare, a lot of us are fans of fantasies and fans of sci-fis. So they said, those are the games that we make best, because they understand that concept. They understand that genre. And I mean, and I could agree. I mean, freaking BioWare making some war game. I mean, depending on the branch of BioWare, of course, because there's not just one branch. There's a lot of different branches that focus on different games. But let's say you take the BioWare that created Mass Effect and Dragon Age and all that, and then all of a sudden they create a modern warfare type of game. That probably wouldn't work, just because a lot of their developers focus and are best at fantasy and sci-fi games, so that's why they stick to those genres, because that's what they're good at. This was interesting too. Someone talked about games that touch the human condition and why a lot of developers don't really go down that route. And you might say, well, BioWare kind of does, but they even admitted it. They were like, a lot of developers are wary about going to that level because as much as they want to spark specific emotions, there is a fine line of taking it so far that the subject matter can actually become very depressing. And unfortunately, as developers in the video game industry, they have to remember that just because you find a way to spark emotion doesn't mean that it will sell. So they always have to have that in mind. You may create a great emotional game, but what if no one buys it? A lot of times it comes down to the risks developers are willing to take. It's not that games can't show sex scenes or can't involve themes like racism or homosexuality or religion. It's just that sometimes you have a great idea for a game, and if you put a controversial theme to it, the media could pretty much kill the game. And sometimes it's just not worth it. And I agree. I mean, think about Mass Effect. This is what I was thinking about. Or at least Mass Effect 1. There was an uproar after that game came out with that little tiny sex scene. I mean, they showed a naked side view. You don't even see anything. And people went crazy about that. And BioWare was like, oh my gosh. And they changed it for Mass Effect 2. They didn't go that way. They were more conservative when it came to the sex scenes. But in Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 1, they kind of delved a little bit into the homosexuality route, but not so much because they were like, well, Liara isn't really a female, she's not a male, she's an alien, so it wasn't really, you couldn't really consider it as being lesbian. It was more like she had no gender. But it was kind of, girl on girl. And in Mass Effect 2, they didn't go that route. In Mass Effect 2, they played it pretty safe because they were like, no, let's not even risk it. But now with Mass Effect 3, they are risking it. They are gonna throw in some homosexuality stuff in there, and I think they're taking that risk just because the game has so much fan base already. It has so much that is going to save it, that the homosexuality concept to it is not going to be enough for it to kill the game. Just because it's the last title, there's so much in it, so much drama, it's a huge war story that a homosexuality theme, the fans won't mind it because it's such a great game, or at least that's what they're planning. I'll bet you anything, the media is going to find a way to, or not even find a way, they're going to criticize it a lot because of that. But like I said, I don't think it's going to be enough to kill Mass Effect 3 because there's just so much to that game that will save it no matter what. So I think that's why BioWare is taking that jump, because they're like, it's not going to be enough to really make this game be a flop just because of that. So it's a risk they're willing to take, but I don't think they were willing to take it in Mass Effect 2 just because Mass Effect 2 didn't have the weight that Mass Effect 3 has. And I mean, they kind of felt like they had to redeem it because of all the negative comments that Mass Effect 1 had with the sex scene and with the girl on girl, and they were like, we have to say this, so they didn't want to take the risks again in Mass Effect 2. I mean, Mass Effect 1 was their first Mass Effect game, so they didn't want to take that risk. But I found that interesting. It's a very, very good lecture. Like I said, it's only an hour. It's interesting to see the way that they think. It really makes you understand the games that they put out and why they put out these games and what their goals are and what they have in mind when they're putting these games out. So I think one thing that a lot of us forget is that BioWare and a lot of gaming companies, they have BioWare, I can't remember the other, I think there was, someone told me, a few people told me about the new BioWare game, the Command and Conquer. They were like, it's not the same team that did Mass Effect, it's a different BioWare, and they're actually putting another name to it, BioWare something, I don't remember. So it's a different team, And they did the same thing for another game, I think. I'm not sure if it was Neverwinter Nights. It was BioWare Mythic, I think. It was Mythic. So there's different branches. Rockstar does the same thing. Like the Rockstar that did Grand Theft Auto didn't do LA Noire. They're different. So that's pretty much it. I thought this was very interesting. It is a controversial topic, just because a lot of people, there's a huge debate about it. In case you're still wondering about my position, I don't like to argue. I just think that it deserves, this issue deserves some respect on both sides. The people that don't consider it art, good for them. You know, they have their reasons. I'm not gonna sit there and try to push it on them. And the people that do consider it art, they have their reasons too. And I just think that it's a lot about respect, and that's what they were talking about, and appreciation. So yeah, I just wanted to talk to you guys about that. A little different topic than my usual stuff. I just found it interesting, and yeah. So the link, I'll put the link in the description. That's pretty much it. I hope you guys found this interesting. Let me know what you think, and I will talk to you guys later.